It often feels like we're all missing the user manual for the human brain, right? But what if I told you psychology is basically that manual? It's full of these unwritten rules that can totally change how you navigate your life. So let's dive in and unlock some of those secrets together.
Yeah, we've all been there. Maybe you're trying to build a good habit and just can't make it stick, or you're in a tricky conversation, or you're just trying to figure out why people do the things they do. It's like, did everyone else get a secret memo on how to be a person that I just missed?
Well, guess what? This is your copy of that missing memo. We're about to break down some seriously powerful psychological principles into simple, real world strategies you can actually start using, like today. All right, so where do we even begin with this user manual? Well, the best place to start is with ourselves. We're going to kick things off with a few practical ways you can manage your own mind, your moods, and your habits way more effectively. Okay, first things first, we have got to bust a huge myth. I'm sure you've heard it a million times. It takes 21 days to form a habit. Sounds nice and neat, right? Well, the actual science tells a very different and much more realistic story. Okay, check this out because this is where it gets really interesting. The reality is it takes about 66 days on average to really lock in a new habit. Those first 3 weeks or so, that's the struggle. It feels awkward, it's a grind. Then you hit the test phase. This is when you're most tempted to just give up. But, and this is the key, if you can just push through to that final stretch, that's the breakthrough. That's when the habit finally clicks and becomes automatic. All right, let's talk about something I know every single one of us has dealt with. You had a terrible night's sleep, tossed and turned, and now you've got a massive day ahead. You feel like you're toast, right? Doomed. Well, what if I told you there's a surprisingly simple psychological trick for that? I mean, this is the placebo effect in its purest, most powerful form. A study from Colorado College found that if you can genuinely convince yourself that you got a good night's sleep, your brain actually performs better. It doesn't even matter how much you actually slept. Your belief, your mindset, can literally trick your brain into working at a higher level. How cool is that? Okay, ready for a few more quick-fire brain hacks? Here we go. First, if you need to remember something simple, like locking the door, connect it to a totally absurd phrase. As you lock it, say, oppressive crab out loud. It's so weird, your brain has no choice but to remember it. Next, feeling anxious? Just start singing your favorite song. Seriously, it releases oxytocin, which is like a natural calming agent. Also, don't forget the sun. Just 10 minutes of sunlight a day can do wonders for your mood. And finally, if you need to wake up fast, try this. Sit up, make 2 fists, and just yell, yeah! I know, it sounds ridiculous, but trust me, it works. Okay, so we've got some great tools for hacking our own brains. Now let's shift gears and look outward. How can we use these kinds of principles to better understand and connect with other people? This next part is all about the subtle art of positive influence. Okay, have you ever met someone who is just so confident, but really not that good at what they do? Or on the flip side, someone who is an absolute genius but is full of self-doubt? Well, there's a name for that. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's this weird cognitive bias where people with low ability in something tend to wildly overestimate their skills. And at the same time, the real experts, they tend to underestimate theirs. And this just lays it out so perfectly. You've got folks with average intelligence who are often way overconfident, thinking they're smarter than everyone else. But then you have the highly intelligent people, and because they know just how much they don't know, they're constantly doubting themselves. It's a great reminder, right? The smartest person in the room is often the quietest. Now, this is a good one. How do you guide someone's decision without being bossy or making them feel pressured? There's an incredibly simple and powerful technique that actually makes them feel like they are completely in control. So here's how it works. It's called the choice gambit. Step 1, you decide the outcome you want. Then step 2, and this is the magic part, you offer them 2 choices that both lead to that same outcome. The classic example is for getting a kid to study. Instead of asking, are you going to study, which, just invites a no, you ask, hey, time to study. Are you going to start with English or math? See, they feel powerful because they get to choose, but either way, they're studying. It's brilliant. Want a few more little persuasion tricks? Okay, here you go. First, use a person's name when you're talking to them. There's literally no sweeter sound to our ears. Also, try subtly mirroring their body language. It's called the chameleon effect, and it builds this subconscious connection. Oh, and when you're making a point, try nodding your head a little as you talk. It kind of encourages them to agree with you. And finally, a bit of reverse psychology can work wonders. If you want to motivate someone, sometimes playfully suggesting they probably couldn't do it anyway is the best way to get them to prove you wrong. All right, we've covered our own minds, we've covered influencing others, But what about when things get tense? When conversations get awkward or difficult? Our next section is all about how to handle those tricky situations like a pro. So picture this. You're talking to someone and you just know they're not telling you the whole story. You ask a question, they give you a super short answer, and then what do you do? What's the most powerful move you can make to get them to open up? The answer? Silence. That's it. Just silence. After they give their short answer, just hold friendly eye contact and wait. Don't say a word. Most people find silence incredibly uncomfortable, and they will literally rush to fill that void, often by telling you exactly what you wanted to know.
Okay, what about stopping a fight before it even starts? You can feel that tension building, right? The voices are getting a little sharper. Is there some kind of secret weapon you can deploy to just de-escalate everything on the spot? Yes, there is, and it's probably in your kitchen right now. It's eating. Psychologically, eating is a calming activity. It's really hard to be aggressive or feel threatened when you're chewing. So if you feel an argument starting to brew, just suggest grabbing a bite to eat, or even just offer them a snack. It can totally shift the energy of the entire interaction. And last one for this section, it's a big one. When you have to point out a mistake, your choice of words is everything. Saying, "You didn't close the window," immediately sounds like an attack, and it makes people defensive. But if you just state the fact, "The window was left open all night," it's just an observation. It takes the blame out of it and allows them to take responsibility without feeling attacked. Okay, for our final section, let's talk about making an impact, how to make sure you're remembered, and for all the right reasons. Whether you're in a job interview or just meeting someone new, these tips will help you make a fantastic, lasting impression. So this is something called the primacy and recency effect. It's super simple. Our brains are wired to remember the first thing we hear and the last thing we hear, way better than anything in the middle. The middle just kind of turns into a blur. So what's the takeaway? If you're scheduling something important like a job interview, always try to be the very first candidate of the day or the very last. You will be so much more memorable than anyone stuck in the middle. And finally, want to know the secret to being instantly likable? It's not about being the most clever or funny person in the room. It's about making the other person feel clever and interesting. So, ask them to explain something to you, even if you already know the answer. Find out what they're passionate about and just ask questions. Let them talk. Honestly, the best way to be interesting is to be interested. It's like the Dalai Lama said, when you're talking, you're just repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you might actually learn something new. So, we've covered a ton of ground here, from building habits to navigating conversations. But remember, knowing this stuff is one thing. Actually using it is where the magic happens. So the big question for you is, which one of these psychological tools are you going to try out first?